Well, hello. Yeah, I guess it's time to start. It's kind of weird. I've never done anything like this before, so I feel strangely nervous. And I see that there's a few people on there. Hi, Kathleen. How are you? Hope you're having a great day. Yeah, so my name's Brian Toogood, and I made this record, and I can show it to you right here. It's called Portrait of a Prodigal. I'll give a real quick history before I start playing. I used to write songs when I was younger, and it was a pretty huge part of my life, and I really pursued it pretty hard, and then at a certain point, I kind of stopped doing it, and I got married and had a couple kids, and it just really wasn't part of my life anymore. And songwriting has always been something that's given me life. But I had a really good friend, and he, man, this guy, he's good at everything. And I actually played in a church band with him. And one time we were going to rehearsal, and he was talking about like tailoring clothes. Sorry, I know this is a long story, but it's part of why I made this record. But anyways, and I just looked at him like, Chris, like why are you so good at everything? Because he seemed to know a little bit about everything. And he just said, well, he had been doing this practice, and the practice was every year he'd pick something that he was interested in, and he would pursue it for a year, and he would learn it. And so like he played a number of instruments, and editing and movie making, and like making clothes, and anyways, I just thought it was a really great idea. And so, I have all these instruments and things that sort of nag at me. And so the first year I thought, you know what, I'm gonna play banjo. And so that's what I did. I just played banjo. And then the next year I just thought, what am I gonna do? And I just thought, I need to start writing songs again. And it was kind of hard to do because I hadn't written songs for a long time, and I had changed a lot. So it was a real process it was really hard to start doing it again. So I rewrote some songs, and then started writing some other really bad songs, and then and along with pursuing that in my spare time, it was the end of COVID, and I just saw like just a lot of hopelessness, and a lot of friends that my friends from that I used to know back in the day, like a lot of people weren't doing well, and they were casualties, and I just felt like, I don't know, I just really wanted to share. I wanted to share hope, and the hope that I had found, and and I started looking at the songs I was writing, and it was sort of telling a story about where and how I got hope out of hopelessness. And so I had been in AA for many, many years, and I kind of had disappeared also from the scene that I used to be a part of, and it was just because of life, right? And I had told my story many, many times, but it occurred to me that there were friends of mine that sort of had no clue, or old friends that I used to know had no clue what happened. I just kind of disappeared. And so I started writing this record, and I just thought I just kind of wanted to share this story. And the funny thing is, when you start kind of looking at your story, it starts to change. What I thought was my story was completely different once I got it down on paper. And so anyways, as all good stories, they have a beginning. And so I started to write. So the first song on this record is a song called Lions, and it was written from the perspective of me as a child. Like, I was very, very anxious, had a lot of anxiety, and long before I even knew what anxiety was, I was very fearful, and lots of nightmares, and a lot of it centered around sort of religious stuff, like afraid of dying and going to hell, and I was really tormented, and I wouldn't sleep, and so anyways, this is where where the story starts. And it sort of, I wanted to kind of capture the irrational fear that I felt as a child, which, I mean, it seemed pretty real. So I'll just start off with a song called Lions. There's lights outside my window, lie wait for me to sleep. I keep my eyes wide open, danger is all around me. If I only was a little stronger, if I only wasn't me, if I only was a giant, nothing ever would mess with me. There's snakes under my blankets, scorpions between the sheets. I smooth out all the wrinkles, now they can't surprise me. If only was a little older, bigger with larger feet. When I hear the shadows creeping, I kick 'em right in the teeth. Murder calls out from my closet, cotton candy, sugar treats. Don't be afraid, I won't eat you. My teeth are sharp, but my lips are sweet. Outside these four walls I won't wander. When it's dark I keep my lantern lit. I know you're out there waiting. Morning comes, I can breathe again. Storms are always brewing, lightning tries to strike me, thunder pounds its fists in anger. It's working if you're trying to scare me. There's sharks in these waters, I can see them in the deep. I hear them thrashing in the darkness, in the darkness, gnashing their teeth. Wow, I feel really, really nervous. I'm just gonna have a little drink of water. So this next song is Dirt. It's a song called Dirt. And the chorus of the song goes, I'm afraid of the fire, don't want to burn, just want to live and die and rot in the dirt. And that was sort of a thought that I had later on in my life where, you know, because I had grown up in a Christian home. I'd grown up around the Bible and around religion and going to church and things like that. And, you know, in the beginning, it was just normal to me. But then when I, you know, got into school and started to look around and realize that not everybody shared the same values and did the same things that my family did, And so, I experienced a little bit of mocking. And then, I also had a real desire to I'd like to do something else. And as well, a lot of that stuff, the religious stuff, really frightened me. And I also felt a real pressure, I realized I can't be good, I just didn't really understand. And so the short of it is, I remember when I was about 13, I remember sitting in a church and it was really boring. It was this Baptist church, and I remember reading the Bible. It was what I would read to try to entertain myself, and I remember reading it, and I remember kind of looking and thinking no thanks. And I remember I shut the book, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And I've always for me, music was always I love music. I idolized musicians, and I just wanted to be a musician. I played guitar, and that was all I ever really wanted to do. And then my older brother, he was into metal, and he's 4 years older than me, so anything he did, I did. Anything he said, I said. But then I met some friends in junior high, and my buddy went to England and came back with the Sex Pistols and Clash and all these punk rock records and paraphernalia. And I just thought it was awesome. And so I started to really enjoy punk rock. I liked the fact that at the time not many people liked it. I liked the rebellion. I just liked it. I just related to it. These freaks, because I felt like a freak. And anyways, I got to get back to the song. But so this song sort of encapsulates. There's a lot of parts in it, but essentially it's about kind of deciding I want to figure out who I am, and I want to make my own life, and I don't want anything to do with any sort of God or religion or any of that sort of stuff. And if I do, then I'll look at it when I'm really old. So anyways, I'm going to play the song Dirt, and I hope you like it. Let me just tighten this up. If you see me wincing, it's because sometimes I have a really cheap harmonica rack, and my mustache hairs gets caught in there sometimes, and it really hurts. So anyways. My racing heart pounds under the moon, night after night. An angry mob storms into my room. Call down my sins, be forgiven. Can't help myself, I'm just a kid. I'm damned before I've even lived. I need to find a place of my own without God or boundaries, where anything goes. Slam shut the book that's haunted me. I wanna believe what I wanna believe, and be the savior of my own story. Afraid of the fire, I don't wanna burn, just wanna live and die, and rot in the dirt. Afraid of the fire, I'll take a chance, I slip in and breathe out my last breath. I'm out the door, I'm making my way to anywhere but here. Be anyone but me, my new skin's a little thin. Don't look close, it doesn't fit. In time, I'll grow into it. Afraid of the fire, I don't wanna burn, just wanna live and die, and rot in the dirt. Afraid of the fire, I'll take a chance, I slip in and breathe out my last breath. London calling out to me. Finally a voice I can't believe. Afraid of the fire, I don't wanna burn, just wanna live and die and rot in the dirt. drive, life feels grand. They're blowing kisses to me from the stands. Shake your hand in front of me, sinking sand under my feet. It's not much, but it's home sweet to me. Afraid of the fire, I don't wanna burn, just wanna live and die and rot in the dirt. Afraid of the fire, I'll take a chance. I slip in and breathe out my last breath. I slip in and breathe out my last breath. I slip in and breathe out my last breath. Cool. A couple little flubs there. And my headphones keeps crapping out if the cord's really short. So anyways, I hope it sounds okay, like just using this little condenser mic. So back to the story then. The third song is a song called Two Hearts. And that song is just really sort of about, just feeling really conflicted, just feeling really conflicted. It's like, I want to do the right thing, but I really want to do the wrong thing. And also too, it's about identity and just like, it was awesome. I joined like a punk band in grade 10 and man, my life just totally changed. Like all of a sudden I had like friends and I was a part of something and I really believed in it. Like I really believed in music. And not that I don't think of music is amazing, but man, I just worshipped it and I thought it could change the world. And I thought, punk rock would. And, I had an incident when I was about 13. Like a lot of kids, back in my day anyways, in junior high we started messing around with smoking drugs and things like that and drinking and I really liked smoking pot. It seemed to really kind of did it for me. I was a pretty anxious kid and I also was a pretty hyper kid. Like I was on Ritalin for a short bit when I was young, but I had this incident with alcohol one night where like it almost killed me and I ended up in the hospital and my parents were like, man, you were a goner last night. And it really scared me. Like, it kind of made me stop, even though I didn't act like it, but it made me stop. I kind of stopped experimenting with stuff and I just thought, I'll put all my energy into playing guitar and, learning how to write songs and things like that. And so fast forward now, I get into a band and it was great. Like I loved it. I liked going to shows. I liked that some people knew me and some people even treated me a little bit differently. But it was very short-lived. Like, for the first year or so, I never drank. Like I would go to parties and everyone would be drinking and things like that. And I would sometimes just kind of pretend, because I was really afraid of alcohol. But when I got into grade 11, things sort of changed. I went to a different school and I met, and I started to really develop a kind of a big ego. I started to believe my own hype, even though I totally hated myself. But I'm trying to remember where I'm going with this. But yeah, I ended up getting kicked out of school and, I was just, most of my friends, we just partied and smoked dope and, whenever I drank, I'd always drink too much. Like I never really had control and I'd always be the guy being carried out or passed out. And I would always think, I'll just stick to this. And then we would experiment with other things. But yeah, I really thought I had arrived. But then when I got there, it wasn't as great as I thought. Because I was always conflicted. And I'd be angry because it was always sort of religious, centered around religion, and I always just thought, I was indoctrinated and I just hated it. like, so I would do all the things with my friends, but I would just feel so guilty. Anyways, this song is called Two Hearts. I was born with two hearts, to a war I didn't start, into a life I didn't choose or even want, into a world that seems confusing, maybe too far gone. I was born with two hearts, it's a tug of war pulling me apart. One spits hate, other calls it love. Who's the enemy? Which one can I trust? Seems like there's only two roads, one high and the other low. I'm on a broad highway, all alone in this company. Broke out, was free at last, intoxicating for a moment, but I came down fast. Now I'm looking for the formula to make this party last. Do a little of this and take a little of that. I was born with two hearts, it's been trouble right from the start. Don't wanna look any higher up than the here and now and what I can't touch. Seems like there's only two roads, one wide and the other narrow. I'm on a broad highway, all alone in this company. Guilt that I feel never seems to stop what I want to be right, still feels wrong. One voice above the chaos of my heart telling me you're still my son. The guilt that I feel never seems to stop what I want to be right, still feels wrong. Even when I'm dragging you through the mud, once you start, you never stop. I was born with two hearts. This next song I have to tune down, so sorry. It's a song called Pulse. So I totally had rejected Christianity and really wanted nothing to do with it, even though it seemed to kind of haunt me all the time. I never really talked about it. Sometimes I would talk about it when I was really wasted to my friends, and I'd be that weird guy. But I could never be an atheist, because deep down inside I always kind of believed there was something, and whether it was a religion, I don't know. You look around at the world and it's like, if there's a God, man, he's not doing much. They have those sort of thoughts. And then you look at religion and what people do supposedly in the name of it. Although, to be fair, I met some incredible people with great character and who were Christians, yeah. Sorry, that's sort of a little side note, but yeah, I could never be an atheist, because I would kind of look at, even when I was in the worst parts of my brain, struggling with my health, I still always believed, when I would just kind of look around at the mountains, I would look around at nature, I'd look around at how my hands move, and I would just think, man, I just had a really hard time believing that it was some sort of weird accident. It just seemed so beautiful and like it was created, Anyways, this song is called Pulse, and I started writing it in Toronto, and it was like, I actually got sober when I was 27, and that was when I had my last drink, and then so I still ended up playing in bands for a few more years until I just decided I just kind of didn't want to do it anymore. But yeah, so I started writing this song, and the only thing that really remained from this song was the first line. That was, the first line is drawing closer to thee. And okay, like I don't say words like thee, I'm not King James. But yeah, I kept it. And that was the only thing that really remained. But I remember when I wrote it, I thought, oh, that sounds kind of spiritual. But anyways, I'm going to play this song called Pulse. Hope I can pull it off. My throat feels a little bit raw. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in. Hey, Drew, how are you? And I saw Vadim and Kathleen, and that's awesome. So here's Pulse. And Deborah, too. Drawing closer to thee, my beating heart, a falling star, all tailing from the smallest of seeds to the largest of beasts. Can nothing make something like these? Perfect pitch, I hear the universe sing. The moon and stars are caroling. Oh, the roll of the waves drives my spirit to praise for something much larger than these. Glory to God in the highest, they sing. Heaven and earth fall to their knees. Glory to God in the highest, they sing. It was good, it was God, He's pleased. The sun declares I shine. I light the world, but not the light of life. Oh, by design I was made to separate night from day, the work of one brighter than I. By faith can I believe what was dim, I now see clearly, precisely placed by His word. All life on this earth, the invisible made visual for me. Glory to God in the highest, they sing. Heaven and earth fall to their knees. Glory to God in the highest, they sing. It was good, it was God, He's pleased. Above everything, name above every name, above highest they sing, it was good, it was God, He's pleased. Well, this next song sort of jumps in my story. It's kind of the real part of the story in a way. It's a song called Scatter My Bones. But yeah, I mean, a lot of my 20s, and I was just playing in bands and had some really great friends, and just partying and making lots of promises, working in restaurants, and had some relationships. I wasn't very good at it. I was incredibly jealous, and in fact, kind of abusive, really, at times, not physically, but because of my anxiety and my just how low and little I felt about myself. But I just kind of plodded along, and with alcohol, just one really quick thing about alcohol, for me, when I kind of crossed the line, it was pretty early. It was at 19 years old is when I kind of knew that me and alcohol weren't really good buddies. I'd gotten really, really drunk the night before at work, and too, when I would sober up, and even at 19, my hangovers were pretty rough, different than the people that it was more like withdrawal. Anyways, that's another side note. But when I was 19, I remember I got embarrassingly drunk, and then the next day there was a punk rock show at Flashbacks. It was like a Sunday matinee show, and I remember kind of getting there pretty late, and I'm just sweating and shaky and dirty, and I remember talking to my friend Mike and being like, "Hey, do you think I'm an alcoholic?" And he was like, "No way, man. You're way too young." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." But, when I look back now, something was born at that. And as soon as I questioned, when I think about it now, as soon as I began to question, that's when it was I had this obsession to control it sort of birthed. And so, yeah, and I tried that till I was 27. And in my last 2 years, where I still drank, were pretty horrible. I was in a really, really bad relationship with another person who was just as messed up as I was, except there were some other elements in there that I don't want to get into. But it was a very dark, broken time, and I couldn't get out of it. And and there are things that happened in there that just, yeah, it's very nightmarish to think about. And, I used to think you'd read the paper sometimes and wonder how people, how can people do that? And I understand, you add, mental illness and alcohol addiction and pain, and people can do some pretty broken things. But anyways, my last drunk that I had, I finally got out of that relationship after a couple years, and was at a party, got super loaded, lots of things kind of went down that night, and but yeah, and it wasn't my worst, but it definitely wasn't my best. But anyways, I managed to wake up at home, and when I woke up, something was different this time. And I had tried to swear off alcohol many times, but I'd always go back, and because it really did something for me, different than any other drug that I ever did. With alcohol, it would make me disappear, and that's what I was chasing. There would be this point when I was drinking where it's Brian Tugad stopped to exist, and then I was just this other person. But then I would go, a lot of times, I would kind of lose it. It was a very brief pit stop. But anyways, I woke up, and I was trying to figure out what happened and how I got home, trying to remember what I could remember. And But I heard a voice, and the voice just said, "You're going to die." And it scared me, you know. And I took it seriously. And so I quit drinking. And, you know, for me, when I would quit drinking, it'd take about a week to dry out and get rid of the shakes. And, you know, the first couple of days were always really rough. Unless I just started drinking again. I had to, you know, and then it would calm me, everything. And, but this time it was different. I was serious. I quit, and I had a job, and then I started playing in a band again. But something was, you know, after a couple weeks, things weren't going the way I thought they were going to go. And I'll say this really quick, but basically I just didn't get better. And my mind was broken. I was started to have all these anxiety and panic attacks, like severe panic attacks, which I'd had before, but I always thought they were from alcohol. And I had forgotten about what it was like when I was a kid, when I would have them. But anyways, so I was really scared. I couldn't sleep, and I was having these major anxiety attacks like all the time. And so I was trying to fix myself. So, you know, trying to change diets, and I started quitting everything. I started, you know, I was developing a little bit of a NyQuil addiction because I wasn't sleeping, and I had to cut that off. But I just started quitting things and trying to work out, trying to change diets, and I started seeing a doctor, and you know, the doctor was trying to help me, and which at the very end, after about, you know, 3 months, he was like, "I can't help you," and you know, he's like, I can medicate you for the rest of your life, you know, which at the time I'm like, yeah, just do it. But he's like, I don't want to, you know. But anyways, so then I started going back to church. I tried that, like after, you know, and that's a whole other long story. But I was playing a gig at the Bronx, and I was just having such a wicked panic attack, and I just thought, as soon as this gig's over, I gotta go to my parents, because when I would go to my parents, like I used to dry out there all the time, but there was just something peaceful about it. And so I went to my parents, and I slept there on the floor. In the morning, my mom woke me up. It was a Sunday morning, and she's like, "Hey, we're going to church. It's, you know, over here." It was like across the field. And I'm just like, not a chance. And then they left. And then as soon as they left, it was like all the terror kind of came back to me again. So I got up. It was like whatever they had left with them. And that house was not peaceful anymore. And so I just jumped in the shower, started changing, and soon I'm walking across this field to this school where this church was. Just like, I don't want to go, but I didn't know what else to do, you know. And so I get in there, and there's this guy, George Feller, and I open up the door, and he's just this big bear of a man, and I'm just bawling. And so I start trying that, and started going back to church, but it wasn't really helping, to be quite honest. And I wasn't sure why. I mean, I wanted it to. Like, if all of a sudden this God could somehow make everything go away and restore my mind to sanity, then yeah, I'm in. I don't care. But it didn't happen that way. And so after about 4 months of this sobriety that I was trying to have, you know, my doctor told me he couldn't help me anymore. And I was at work, and I was talking to a friend of mine. He's like, "Man, maybe you should start drinking again." And I just thought in that moment, no. And I had complete peace, and I thought, you know what, I'm too screwed up. I'm too broken. And so I thought, I'm going to take my life. And so then I went home, called my mom, and I'm just bawling on the phone, just like, you know, sorry. I tried all these things. I tried your Jesus. I tried being sober. I tried not doing any drugs. I tried a million things. And my mind is too broken. I'm too broken, and I can't live like this. And so then my mom hung up on me. So anyways, this song is called "Scatter My Bones." It's about that. Let's have to adjust this. busted and bruised. Knocking wood ain't been good to you. This life is a storm. It's twisted and torn. There's nothing left here to lose. Oh, time is a curse. How could death be any worse? Tick-tock goes the clock. Time only mocks me back to the earth. Oh, scatter my bones over top of my grave. It's the only thing I can leave behind here in this place. Oh, no memories or traces of me. Not a print to be found. Just lower me down into my cold, dark grave. Well, I fear for my soul. Well, Sunday school told me so. Well, I fear for my soul. No prayers to be said, no tears to be shed on that final day. This wicked world has no room for me. God save my soul, or take me away. Yeah, I believe there's no salvation for me. Oh, I crossed the line, knew wrong from right. But what is the fire? Oh, day after day, darkness keeps me company. Not more to the faith, everything is in vain. God has forsaken this place. Oh, scatter my bones over top of my grave. I tried and I tried to repent for my crime. Is that over again? Well, I fear for my soul. Well, Sunday school told me so. Well, I fear for my soul. No prayers to be said, no tears to be shed on that final day. Sort of a hard one to play. Anyways, hi Stacy. Hey PJ. So I called my mom, and my mom hung up on me. I'm about to tell her that I'm checking out, and that's pretty odd. And then my phone rings, and I answer the phone, and it's this woman, Connie. And my mom had met Connie somewhere, and she was older than my mom, but she had been through hell and back. And I talked to her over the years, and she was someone that I always talked to when I was really, really, really depressed or really down or really deep in trouble. And she just seemed to know, and she had this cute little laugh and found the oddest things kind of funny. But she said, "What's wrong?" And I just said, I quit drinking 4 months ago, and I quit using drugs, and I can't cope. And I can't do it anymore. I can't live. I tried God. I tried all these things, and I'm too messed up. And she said, "Well, why don't you come with me tonight?" And I thought, "Okay, where?" And she said, "Well, why don't you come to me to an AA meeting?" And I thought, an AA meeting? Like, I've been sober for 4 months. I don't need AA. But I trusted her, and deep down inside, I didn't want to check out. I just didn't know what else to do, and that was the only thing that seemed to be the last option. And so I ended up going to this AA meeting, and I hated it. It was just so bizarre, just sitting in this room. It was like in a sort of a monastery out in St. Albert, and they're just so weird. And I heard a couple people say a couple things, but my brain was rattling so fast, and I was just so full of anxiety. It was just hard to be there. But she had actually called 2 guys to come and drive me home. And it was actually a guy she didn't really like, but she just really felt like God had put him in particular on her mind. And so he drove me home, and they're talking about drinking and drugs and talking about all these stories about embarrassing things that they've done. And I just thought, oh, who are these guys? Like, I don't want to hear your crap. I don't want to hear your war stories. I don't care. It's embarrassing. And I don't want you to hear mine. And so we get to my apartment, and we're outside, and this guy, Sammy Mackay, who I ended up having a very long relationship with, friendship and mentorship, and he's like, "So what do you think, boy? You want to come back to another meeting?" And I said, and it's funny because hours before I wanted to end my life, and somehow I'd mustered up the pride and courage to now kind of discount him. But anyways, I just said, this is really good. It seems like you got a really good thing going, and I'm glad it's working for you. And I said, but for me, when I make my mind up to do something, I do it. And he just pointed his finger in my face. I've only known this guy for like 30 minutes. And he just said, "Look at you. Your pride is killing you." And I didn't know what that meant, but it hurt. It hurt like hell. And it just kind of threw me back. And then he said, and then I said, yeah. I said, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm sober. I've been sober for 4 months. And then he said, "You are not sober." And I just thought, who is this guy? Like, how dare he? Like, I've been crawling for 4 months, and I know that I'm sober. But then he explained to me, and what changed my life forever in that moment, he said to me, sobriety isn't just the absence of drugs and alcohol. He said, sobriety is peace of mind. And when he said that, I didn't really know what he meant, but it was a direct hit, and I just remember deflating, and it felt so good, actually. But then I realized, like, whatever this peace of mind is, that's what I've been searching for my entire life. And if he could get me to peace of mind, then I wanted it. So I began to go to meetings, and I really struggled with the God part of it, just because to me God was just God of the Bible. It was just Sunday school and what I'd grown up with and what I'd ran away from and what, I had hated. Anyways, I'm going to sing this song called "Scatter My Bones." But that day, Sammy Mackay saved my life. And that day was the day that God rescued me. I was pulled from the flames by the hand of mercy, laid into the arms of your grace. This must be my lucky day. Reach down into the grave, in death's grasp you seized me. the arms of your grace. This is more than a lucky day. Hopelessly adrift, hidden by the vastness of the ocean. Upon this tiny raft, your eyes were always fixed, just waiting for me to let go of it. I can't, but you can. Bring me back onto dry land. I can't, but you can. Turn stone into flesh. The weight of these chains, every single link from out this wicked heart I made. I'm guilty and owned either way. Why give up? My pride's killing me. And I can't, but you can. Be the light in my darkness. I can't, but you can. Turn stone into flesh. And I can't, but you can. Storm a heart and restore it. And I can't, but you can. Turn stone into flesh. You knew me, you called me by name. This love's all I needed. Even when I was an enemy, you forgave everything as you were bleeding. You knew me, you called me by name. Your love's all I needed. Even when I was an enemy, you forgave everything as you were bleeding. I can't, but you can. Bring love where there's hatred. I can't, but you can. Turn stone into flesh. So I was in AA for a long time, and there were a lot of really profound things about it, and a couple things that really stand out for me is, obviously I stayed sober and I had a community, and I felt like I was given time to kind of figure stuff out, but my progress was really slow, and I was really angry about that. Like, I was praying, I was going to meetings, I was doing service work and all the things, and I was still having severe panic attacks and anxiety, and it was better. And now I had a community, and I knew some things, I had some tricks, and I had hope. But I remember being really angry, like, come on, like, when is this going to go away? And I would see people come in to recovery, and they seemed to get better quicker. And it just seemed to be so slow for me. And it was all in my mind, in my head, because my mind was pretty broken. And but now I realized I had this sort of epiphany maybe 5 or 6 years into sobriety, where I just realized, like, you know what? it's slow, but it's good. Like God knows what he's doing. And I just realized, I'm like, yeah, like if it had been really quick, I just would have did it all over again. And for me, it wasn't, it wasn't that I didn't want to drink anymore. It's like I didn't want to sober up ever again. Like that was my motivation, I mean, drinking is easy. It's getting sober. But now I'm grateful that it did take a long time. But along that way, I always had everything I needed, But the other thing that was really profound for me was, I remember, like I used to go to this AA group in St. Albert. It was like a home group. It was like, it wasn't like a regular group. It was invite only, and it was, people knew each other really well, and we would talk we'd really get into it. So I was at this meeting with my sponsor, with Sammy, and he, and we're talking about step 3, which was made a decision to turn my life and will over to the care of God as I understood him. And, it was my turn to speak, and I just thought I would, just say a bunch of stuff. But all that came out of my mouth was, I just started swearing, and I started staring at the ceiling, and I was just like, middle finger, just like, F you, F you, F you. And I was just saying it over and over and over and over again. And then when I was done, I just kind of slumped down in my chair, and the next person started talking, and but Sammy just kind of whispered in my ear in his little Irish accent, and he just said to me, he said, Brian, I wish I could do his accent, but he said, Brian, if I had your God, I'd hate him too. And then he went back listening, and then my brain exploded, and I just had this aha moment where I realized that it wasn't God that I hated. It was my understanding of God, and that needed to be destroyed. And that was really the real beginning of when I began to trust and to feel safe, to question and to seek and to search. Because of that time in my mind, just because of how I was raised, I kind of thought it was like sacrilegious, Like I don't want to piss off God, and I have to know right now, and I understand that that's not how God is. So as time progressed, I began to explore, and I'd always kind of go back to the Bible, to the God of the Bible, but I didn't want to just arrive there because that's what I was raised to believe. Like it needed to be real. And so over time, it became very real, and I began to understand Jesus in a totally different way, And I understood, like, the conflict that I had growing up when I was doing all the things, even though I made a decision that God, all that stuff, not a part of my life. I understood now that why it was so painful for me, and it's because when I was a kid, I had made a decision. I had received God, and He's faithful, and so even though I was doing all the things and I rejected Him, He was still faithful to me. He was still, I know it sounds weird and crazy, but He was still inside me. And that's where the conflict was. So anyways, I wrote this song called Roll Away the Stone. And I'm really thankful I see there are some people listening, and I'm making all these errors and mistakes, sort of in a bit of an awkward position. But I don't want to pull my headphones out, so I'm kind of in a weird position. But yeah, I'm just really thankful. There's some stuff in the description. If anyone wants to find out where to get this album, you can go to the website, and there's an address in the description. Here's the record. As well, if you feel led, it's not necessary. I do have a link for a tip jar as well. But I'm just thankful that anyone would listen to this, and I hope it's not boring. Anyways, I'm gonna play "Roll Away the Stone," and so this song is just about Jesus, and that's what I came to believe. And so I'm gonna play this song called "Roll Away the Stone." Betrayed by a kiss, into evil hands delivered, in our place on the cross. Yeah, while we were sinners, roll away the stone. Only Christ alone carry the weight for us all. God and man reconciled once more. The wages of sin paid in full, redeemed from the curse and saved from the fall. Well, Jesus is alive. Why do you look among the dead for a tomb for a moment? For the forgiveness of man took our place and punishment. In 3 days the temple stands again, not a brick or stone, but of blood and holy flesh. He is raised, he is higher than the highest, above all things. He is raised, he is. He reigns forever, the King of Kings. He bled out on the cross. This and these he will send, a soldier, a thief, witness and repent. Every drop he shed poured out to pay our debt. Into a living hope we are born again. Yeah, he'll reign forever, the Lion and the Lamb. He is raised, he is higher than the highest, above all things. He is raised, he is. He reigns forever, the King of Kings. Betrayed by a kiss, into evil hands delivered, crushed death on the cross, and cried out, it's finished. Thanks for listening. I see that my wife is watching. She was going to come and play, but she had to go to a birthday party with one of our good friends. So this is the last song. Yeah, and I'm thankful that I'm able to do this, and hopefully if somebody heard something and they liked it, I hope it was worthwhile. This next song is called On the Rock. It's sort of a different song for me. Recording it was a bit hard, because I didn't know what to really do with it. yeah, no, thank you. And this was the first time that I ever kind of played this record in its entirety. And here we go. But I'm just really grateful. It was there's a lot of people that I want to thank, like Chris Stranglin, my sister-in-law's brother, who she pushed on me to have him record this record. And he became a good friend and a good brother. And my parents as well, they gave me a little bit of money. And it was sort of a daunting thing to try to make a record when you're a meat cutter and you have two little ones. And but God made a way. And also too, I want to thank Von Beeker. When I first started deciding I wanted to make a record, I spent some time, we had a couple bowls of pho, and he gave me some good information and still helps me from time to time. So you check him out, Von Beeker. He's awesome. He's a great songwriter, and just a lovely human being. Some family members gave me some money so that I could make some hard copies of this record. I don't know if I should say their name. I feel like they wouldn't want me to, but you know who you are if you see this, and thank you so much for blessing me. So this last song is called On the Rock, and it's just really just the gospel. And and just my suggestion, if anyone sees this and they're really turned off by Christianity or God, I just say what I tell people is if you can come to a place where you can say, yeah, I think there's something, and you can ask me and I'll tell you tell me, but really what it comes down to, it's between you and God, right? And my suggestion is just seek and look at things, but just if there is something that created all of this, if there's something larger, then just go to the source and say, who are you and are you there? But say it and listen. Like, don't just say it and then I didn't hear anything. But if you really want to know, just ask. And it's a scary thing, because for me it's like, if I settle this thing, then what's going to happen? Who am I going to be? What am I going to become? And they were silly fears, because I'm much better off now. And I remember even one person said to me one time, and I know for me, I don't believe it's true, but he said, even if when I die, there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no God, you know what? Because of this, I was a better father, I was a better husband, I was a better, and I don't believe that's the truth, but just to say, that's what someone said, and I thought, yeah, you're right. I had a better life, but I believe there's a better life waiting, and, anyways, I'm not going to preach. I'm just going to play this song. Where spilled blood of my Savior covers. Oh, and on the rock, took on flesh, and anguish cried out, it is finished. Oh, and on the rock, oh, and how this great love can't be measured. On the rock, Christ is risen, a living hope, a new birth we've been given. Oh, and on the rock, forgiven. In His great mercy, He's opened the gates of heaven.